These are the epic theories about Dr. Doom I have ever written. Number 1. Dr. Doom revives Tony Stark in Captain America and Wanda in Avengers Doomsday. This is shocking, right? Now listen this. Dr. Doom, actually a Tony Stark variant. This is wild. And with that, what if I told you that Tony Stark is still alive? Sounds impossible, right? Well, these theories will blow your mind. In today's video, we will discuss them all one by one, so keep engaged with this video till the end. Maybe it's become the 1-hour-long video. We are discussing 5 theories in a single video. And theory number 1, Dr. Doom revives Tony Stark and bring back Steve Rogers. Captain America in Avengers Doomsday. In the wake of Avengers Endgame and the multiverse-shattering events of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Marvel fans have been left with a question bigger than Thanos himself. What's next? How do you top snapping away half the universe? Well, what if the next catastrophe isn't a universal extinction event, but a total reality rewrite? A doomsday not from the stars, but from within time, space, and magic itself. And what if it's being orchestrated not by Kang, but by another genius, Dr. Doom? This is the Avengers Doomsday Theory, a narrative puzzle that could redefine the MCU, centered around resurrection, manipulation, and redemption. And at the heart of this theory are 3 key figures: Tony Stark, Wanda Maximoff, and Dr. Doom. Let's start with what we know. Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, ended Multiverse of Madness under the ruins of Mount Wundagore. At least, that's what they want us to think. There was no body. There was no true closure. And more importantly, there was a crimson surge of power as the mountain collapsed, hinting at something much darker still alive beneath the rubble. Wanda isn't gone. She's transforming. Doctor Strange's journey through the multiverse revealed a key truth. The Scarlet Witch is a Nexus being. That means she doesn't just exist across the multiverse, she anchors it. She's tied to chaos magic, a force so old and uncontrollable that even the Darkhold is merely a channel for it. So if she isn't dead, where is she? Now enter Dr. Doom. In the comics, Victor Von Doom has always had a complex relationship with both magic and science. He's not just a super genius like Tony Stark, nor merely a sorcerer like Strange. He's both. Doom walks the line between technology and mysticism, and that makes him the one character capable of doing what no one else can, navigating both multiversal science and chaos magic. He understands the rules and how to break them. Here's where it gets fascinating. There's a classic comic arc called Avengers: The Children's Crusade, in which Wanda, suffering from amnesia, is discovered living in Latveria, Dr. Doom's kingdom. And who is protecting her? Doom himself. Not because he's gone soft, but because he sees in her a power that could reshape reality. Together, they explore that potential and nearly destroy the universe in the process. Now imagine this arc adapted into the MCU. We already know Marvel Studios loves remixing comic arcs into cinematic narratives. Take Civil War, Infinity War, Secret Invasion, all adapted with fresh twists. Now what if Children's Crusade is reimagined post-Multiverse of Madness? A broken Wanda, lost in her guilt, her power unstable. Dr. Doom finds her not to kill her, but to use her, to mold her. He doesn't want to conquer the world in a traditional sense. He wants to rewrite the very concept of power. But here's the twist. Doom's ultimate goal is to create a new reality, one where he controls the fabric of existence. But he can't do it alone. He needs a trinity. The ultimate magician, Wanda. The ultimate scientist, Tony Stark. And himself, the fusion of both. That's right. The theory suggests that Doom might bring Tony Stark back, not as a hero, but as an unwilling pawn. Let's unpack that. In the multiverse, anything is possible. We've already seen variant Lokis, multiple Spider-Men, alternate Stranges. So the idea of a variant Tony Stark isn't just possible, it's probable. But not the Tony we remember. Imagine a version who lost everything, his Earth destroyed by incursions, his identity shattered. A Tony who no longer believes in heroism, but in control. A Tony who can be manipulated or reprogrammed. Now consider Doom's genius. If he can manipulate chaos magic with Wanda, could he construct a Stark variant, Frankenstein style, infusing an alternate Tony's mind with MCU Tony's memories? Maybe from an AI backup? Remember in Spider-Man Far From Home, Edith showed us that Tony's presence was still felt even after death. And in What If? We saw Tony's mind preserved across universes. The potential resurrection of Tony Stark wouldn't be a simple case of snapping fingers. It would be a reconstruction, physically, mentally, and philosophically. This wouldn't be the same Iron Man. This would be something far more dangerous. A man with a god complex working alongside two actual gods of destruction. So how does this set up the Doomsday? Well, let's piece it together. Doom finds Wanda, revives her, and earns her trust, or at least manipulates her grief. Together, they reach across the multiverse and locate a broken Tony. Doom uses Wanda's chaos magic to restore Tony's body or essence, and together they form a triumvirate to craft a new reality. But here's the kicker. Doom doesn't want to erase the old universe. He wants to merge it. He believes that the fractured multiverse is flawed because it lacks order. So in his mind, Doomsday isn't destruction, it's purification. He wants to collapse all realities into one cohesive world, Doom's world. The Avengers, meanwhile, are scattered and unprepared. Sam Wilson is a new Captain America still finding his place. Thor is off planet. Hulk is seemingly in a diplomatic role with Sakaar. Strange is preoccupied with incursions. And the Young Avengers? Still forming. It's the perfect storm. But imagine the drama when the Avengers begin to realize that their fallen allies, Wanda and Tony, aren't dead, but reprogrammed. That the people they loved are now part of a plan to undo everything they fought for. That's where the emotional weight of this theory hits hardest. Tony Stark was the heart of the original Avengers. His death was the sacrifice that closed one era and opened the next. Bringing him back is a dangerous move narratively, unless it's for the right reason. A corrupted, variant Stark allows Marvel to explore new philosophical ground. What happens when Iron Man believes humanity must be controlled rather than protected? And Wanda? Her journey has always been about loss, her parents, her brother, Vision, and finally her children. Her desperation led to Westview and then to Wundagore. But what if her return is driven by one final chance to get it right? What if Doom offers her a world where Billy and Tommy always existed? She would move heaven and earth to reach it. She has already. Twice. Now combine that with Doom's tactical brilliance. He's not a brute force villain. He's a chess master. He doesn't attack from the front. He infiltrates from within. What if he plays the long game, manipulating the multiverse behind the scenes, causing incursions, destabilizing timelines, and planting seeds of doubt among heroes? This theory even fits snugly with Secret Wars, which Marvel Studios has confirmed as the destination for this saga. In the comics, the 2015 Secret Wars event is literally about Doom creating a new world from the remains of broken realities, Battleworld. He rules as a god, with fragments of various Earths stitched together. Now tell me that doesn't sound exactly like what we're building toward. And who better to lead the resistance against Doom than a new generation of Avengers, mentored by the veterans, haunted by their predecessors? What if Strange, Spider-Man, Sam, and maybe even a surviving Kang variant have to fight not only Doom, but Wanda and Tony too? Not to destroy them, but to save them? It creates a Shakespearean level of tragedy and stakes. Wanda isn't a villain, she's a mother who lost everything. Tony isn't evil, he's a man manipulated into a new ideology. And Doom? Doom is simply doing what he thinks is right. That makes him terrifying. He doesn't want power for its own sake. He believes the multiverse is broken and only he can fix it. Now let's move to another theory that suggests is RDJ's Doctor Doom actually a Tony Stark variant, or is Marvel hiding a bigger twist? We all mourn Tony Stark. We watched him make the ultimate sacrifice, snapping his fingers to wipe out Thanos and his army, saving the universe in the process. It felt like the definitive end for the hero who kicked off the entire MCU. His funeral was final. We accepted it. But what if that wasn't the real end? What if a horrifying betrayal is still on the horizon? What if the Avengers' greatest hero is about to become their worst nightmare? The MCU is barreling towards two massive movies, Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. With the multiverse tearing itself apart, the rules we thought we knew are out the window. The line between life and death is getting blurry, and a new evil is coming, one whose genius and ambition make Thanos look small time. That evil is Doctor Doom. But the most terrifying fan theory making the rounds isn't just that Doom is coming, it's how he might make his entrance. This theory suggests Doom will do the unthinkable. He'll steal Tony Stark's body, bring it back to life, and unleash it on the world, forcing the Avengers to fight the ghost of their fallen friend. To even wrap your head around a plan this twisted, you have to remember the massive hole Tony Stark left behind. His death wasn't just losing a friend. It fundamentally destabilized Earth's defenses. Think about the void he created. First, there's the tech vacuum. For a decade, Tony was the planet's futurist, single-handedly pushing technology forward by decades. He built the armor, created a new element, and pioneered clean energy with the arc reactor. With him gone, who's in charge of that legacy? Stark Industries is a powerhouse, and now it has a gaping hole at its center. Is Pepper Potts still running the show? Or have government agencies like Damage Control tried to swoop in and seize what they see as the most powerful private arsenal on Earth? Even though the Sokovia Accords were repealed, as we learned in She-Hulk, attorney at law, you know there are powerful people who want that tech. Without Tony's moral compass, a compass he spent years building, that technology isn't just a legacy, it's a liability. It's a treasure chest of unbelievable power, just waiting for a new master. Then there's the strategic void. Tony wasn't just the money, he was the visionary. The guy who saw the next threat coming before anyone else. Haunted by the Chitauri invasion, he was the one who tried to build a suit of armor around the world. His methods were flawed, sure, but his goal was always protection. He was always looking at the stars, getting ready for the next fight. So, who fills that role now? We have brilliant minds like Shuri and maybe Riri Williams on the horizon, but do they have Tony's specific brand of paranoid foresight? The world is arguably more dangerous than ever, with the multiverse cracking open. Earth is vulnerable in a way it hasn't been since before Iron Man first took flight. This power vacuum isn't just a plot point, it's a gaping wound, a weakness a predator could exploit. It's the perfect environment for an enemy who believes he's destined to save the world from itself. An enemy who sees this void not as a tragedy, but as an invitation. Enter Victor Von Doom. Just calling him a villain doesn't do him justice. In the comics, Doctor Doom is one of the most complex characters in all of Marvel. He's the absolute ruler of the nation of Latveria, and by all accounts, he runs it like a paradise. No hunger, no crime. His people love him. Doom's driving force isn't greed, it's his unshakable belief that only he is smart enough and strong enough to bring order to the entire world. In his mind, he's not the villain, he's the hero the world is too stupid to accept. What makes him so dangerous is that he can back it up. He's a genius who rivals Reed Richards and Tony Stark. But unlike them, his talent isn't just in science. Doom is also one of the most powerful sorcerers on Earth, with skills that could give Doctor Strange a run for his money. This is what makes him the ultimate threat. He can build a time machine in the morning and summon demons in the afternoon. He can hack any computer and cast ancient spells. This fusion of science and magic makes him almost unbeatable. His comic book history is just one long quest for ultimate power. He's stolen the power of the Silver Surfer, fought Celestials, and even took on the Beyonders, the godlike beings who created the multiverse. In the famous 2015 Secret Wars comic storyline, when the multiverse collapsed, it was Doom who picked up the pieces. He reportedly killed the Beyonders, stole their power, and forged a new reality called Battleworld from the ashes, with himself as its god emperor. Now look at the MCU, a chaotic, fractured multiverse. It's the perfect playground for a guy like Victor Von Doom to step in and impose his brand of order. This brings us back to one of the wildest fan theories out there, one that, while completely unconfirmed, is just too perfect to ignore. What if the persistent rumors are true? What if Marvel plans the ultimate gut punch by having Robert Downey Jr. return, not as our hero, but as the villain? Imagine the shock of seeing that face again, not in the Iron Man suit, but under Dr. Doom's control. Whether this casting rumor is true or not, it opens the door to a terrifying way this new saga could begin. So if Doom is the new big bad, how does he pull off the most monstrous opening move ever? The theory goes that it's a multi-step plan. A masterpiece of grave robbing was buried in a public cemetery. His remains would be one of the most guarded assets on the planet, but for a man like Victor Von Doom, guarded is just a suggestion. He could use Latverian special forces, advanced tech, and maybe even magic to just walk in and take it. Or he could play it smarter. Maybe he manipulates someone like Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, convincing her he needs access to Tony's DNA for the greater good. Once he's in, the deal's off and he disappears with the prize. But the most fitting possibility for the multiverse saga? He doesn't need the Tony from our universe. With timelines collapsing, there are probably countless dead Tonys across the multiverse. Doom could just hop over to a dying reality and grab a corpse that no one is left to protect. Once he has the body, the next step is reanimation. This is where his combo of science and sorcery comes in. He could use super advanced biotech, maybe a perfected version of Extremis, to heal the damage from the Infinity Stones. Then he could wire the body with robotics, essentially turning Tony into a hyper-realistic puppet. Or he could go full magic. As a master of the dark arts, he could perform a necromantic ritual, binding a spirit, maybe even a piece of his own mind, to the corpse. This wouldn't be a zombie. It would be an intelligent, evil entity wearing Tony Stark's face. In the comics, Doom has a nasty habit of jumping his consciousness into other people's bodies. But the most horrifying scenario in this theory is that he would use both, science to restore the body and magic to animate it. This would create a nightmare of a foe that's almost impossible to figure out how to fight. But here's the cruelest part of the theory. It's not just about a silent puppet. This is where we have to consider a popular idea from the comics, the Tony Stark AI. In several comic storylines, Tony created a perfect digital backup of his consciousness. Now, there's no on-screen evidence for this in the MCU, but let's speculate for a second. What if that final hologram message at his funeral wasn't just a recording? What if the way it seemed to look right at his daughter Morgan was a hint that it was a nascent AI, a ghost in the machine? If an AI like that exists on a server somewhere, Doom's plan becomes truly evil. He could hack and corrupt it, then download it into the reanimated body. He'd have all of Tony's memories, his voice, his jokes, his secrets. He would have a weapon that doesn't just fight the Avengers, but talks to them and tears them apart from the inside out. Imagine the scene. The new Avengers are in a losing battle, and then a blur of red and gold, the sound of repulsors. For 1 second, there's hope. Iron Man is back. He lands, the faceplate retracts, and it's him. It's Tony Stark. Then he smiles, but it's a cold smile, and he opens fire. The emotional damage would be catastrophic. How do you fight a ghost? How do you punch the face of your dead mentor? Think about Peter Parker. He's already lost Tony. To see him again as a monster would be torture. And Doom, with all of Tony's memories, would know exactly what to say. I was wrong about you, kid. He could bring up Uncle Ben, every failure, all delivered in Tony's voice. And what about Pepper and Morgan? How could Pepper give the order to fire on her husband's face? How could Morgan understand that the man who looks and sounds like her dad is a monster? Doom would use their love for Tony as a shield while he carries out his real plan. Then there's Rhodey, Tony's best friend. He's a soldier, but his duty would be in direct conflict with a lifetime of brother, would be a fatal weakness that Doom would exploit. For the new heroes like Sam Wilson's Captain America or Kate Bishop, it's a different test. They live in the shadow of the originals. Now they'd be forced to literally fight that legacy. It's a calculated, brutal campaign to break Earth's mightiest heroes using their own grief as a weapon. Before we get to what Doom is really after, what do you think would be the most heartbreaking thing a corrupted Tony Stark could say to the Avengers? Drop your most painful ideas in the comments. And if you're digging this theory, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. So why would a genius like Victor Von Doom go through all this trouble? Because the zombie Iron Man isn't the end game. It's a distraction. While the heroes are emotionally shattered, fighting the ghost of their friend, Doom is free to work in the shadows on his real plan. The first goal, access. According to this theory, Tony Stark's body isn't just a weapon, it's the ultimate biometric key. With Tony's physical form, his voice print, and his retinal scan, Doom could theoretically walk into any Stark facility on the planet. He could take control of the Iron Legion, download every schematic, and plunder the world's greatest arsenal while the Avengers are busy fighting a ghost. But Doom thinks bigger than just stealing tech. The next movie is called Avengers Doomsday. That's probably not a coincidence. What if Doom uses the reanimated Tony to cause the very disaster the movie is named after? He could use Stark's tech and public image to secretly trigger the incursions we saw in Multiverse of Madness. He could frame Tony as a hero trying to stop the collapse, while actually pushing it forward. He creates the apocalypse so he can rise from the ashes as the savior. This lines up perfectly with his ultimate goal from the 2015 Secret Wars comic. Doom's ambition was never just to rule the world, it was to become God. In the comics, he survived the end of everything and created Battleworld, a new reality where he was God Emperor Doom, the absolute ruler of all that was left. This could be his true endgame in the MCU. Using Tony's body is just a cruel, deeply personal step on his path to godhood. The reanimated Tony Stark is the perfect tool, a key, a weapon, and a brutal symbolic victory over the hero who saved the universe. Every tool has its purpose. For Dr. Doom, even a weapon as powerful as a reanimated Tony Stark is still just a tool. Once he gets what he wants, Stark's tech, the final incursion triggered, or some cosmic power, the corpse is just dead weight. The theory suggests the final act would be the most crushing. Imagine the Avengers, broken but determined, finally cornering this monstrous Iron Man. As they brace themselves to do the unthinkable, the light in the armor's eyes just goes out. The body clatters to the ground lifeless. Then, from the shadows, the real Victor Von Doom emerges in his iconic green cloak and mask. He might just say, "Thank you for the distraction," and disappear, leaving the heroes with their friend's body, now lost for a second time. He used their greatest hero to break them, got what he wanted while they were blinded by grief, and then tossed the body aside like trash. This would establish him as a villain unlike any they've ever faced. With his goals met, Doom can just retreat and watch his doomsday unfold, ready to step in and become the world's savior when it's time for Secret Wars. And that's the theory. Dr. Doom's master plan isn't just an attack, it's psychological torture. He uses Tony's body as a puppet to break the Avengers while he quietly sets himself up to become a god. In the end, he discards the body, leaving the heroes not just beaten, but haunted forever. This kind of event could set the stage for what many fans speculate will be a soft reboot of the MCU after Secret Wars. Just like in the comics, the end of the Multiversal War could lead to a refreshed timeline, allowing Marvel to seamlessly bring in the X-Men and Fantastic Four and maybe even reintroduce some beloved characters. The corrupted Tony they fought could be erased from the new timeline, but the scar would remain for the heroes who lived through it. Now let's move to another theory. Is Tony Stark becoming Dr. Doom? This is the most shocking theory of my writing. Have you ever wondered if everything we knew about Tony Stark was a lie? What if I told you that the real villain of the Marvel Cinematic Universe wasn't Thanos? It was Tony all along? Could Tony Stark actually be Dr. Doom? Not just metaphorically, but literally. Did Marvel plant clues right under our noses across multiple movies? Why does Stark's arc mirror Doom's almost perfectly, from intellect and arrogance to armor and obsession with control? And what if the multiverse didn't create Kang as the big threat, but gave us Victor Von Stark? Stick around because we're diving deep into every clue, theory, and mind-blowing connection between Iron Man and Dr. Doom. And by the end of this video, you might never see Tony Stark the same way again. Let's get into it. Let's start with the basics. Dr. Doom, aka Victor Von Doom, is a genius inventor, ruler of Latveria, master of science and sorcery, and one of the most dangerous villains in Marvel Comics. Tony Stark, genius billionaire inventor, created a suit of armor to escape death. Sound familiar? Now let's line them up. Both men are scientists and engineers. Both are highly arrogant. Both believe they can solve the world's problems. Starting to see it. But here's where it gets wild. Victor Von Doom's turning point came when an experiment went wrong due to ignoring safety warnings. Sound familiar? That's exactly what happened to Tony in Iron Man 2, when he continues to use the arc reactor despite it poisoning him. Both Doom and Stark deal with constant reminders of their own mistakes, and both double down with tech to fix it. But wait, it gets darker. Let's talk about Tony's need for control. Doom believes the world would be a better place under his rule. He literally takes over the planet in some comic arcs to save it. Now rewind to Avengers Age of Ultron. What's Tony's grand idea? Create a global peacekeeping AI that turns into a genocidal robot, Ultron. But Tony doesn't stop. Even after Ultron, what's his plan in Civil War? Superhero registration, government control. Stark becomes the poster boy for surveillance and limitation. That's not Iron Man energy. That's Doom-level thinking. Tony wanted to control the Avengers, control AI, control the world's future. Even in Infinity War, he tells Doctor Strange, if it comes to saving you, the kid, or the time stone, I'm not hesitating. He wants the final say. And who else wants final say over reality itself? Dr. Doom. Now let's look at something more visual, the armor. Tony's suits evolve across the MCU, from clunky and life-saving in Iron Man 1 to godlike in Endgame. Dr. Doom's armor is also symbolic. In the comics, it represents his loss of humanity, a self-imposed prison. The same thing happens to Tony. By Endgame, he's literally living in a suit. He's anxious, broken, traumatized. His humanity is fading. And remember this, Doom hides his face behind a metal mask due to scarring. Tony, too, emotionally wears a mask. They both become walking fortresses. Now here's the kicker. In Dr. Doom's origin, his armor is forged in a moment of trauma. The same goes for Tony. Doom's mask, a symbol of never healing. Tony's arc reactor, same thing. Let's talk about Latveria. Dr. Doom rules this small European nation with an iron fist. What's interesting is that Latveria hasn't been mentioned in the MCU yet. But in the real world, Marvel reacquired the rights to Doom and the Fantastic Four before Tony's death in Endgame? What if Marvel always planned a Doom reveal, but used Tony as a soft launch? Here's a clue. In Iron Man 2, one of Tony's side companies buys mineral rights in Eastern Europe. Why? That's exactly where Latveria is. And let's not forget the Sokovia plot line. After Ultron's attack, Stark's involvement in Eastern Europe deepens. Could it be that Stark wasn't just cleaning up after Ultron, but preparing to own what came next, setting the stage for a future kingdom? You might be saying, no way Tony becomes a dictator. But that's exactly what Doom is, a self-proclaimed savior who uses tech to rule. And Stark's businesses? A web of shady acquisitions, AI labs, and military deals. It's not just hero work. It's empire building. Marvel's What If series gave us a huge glimpse into the multiverse, and guess what? Multiple versions of Tony exist, and many go dark. We saw a Tony who sells out to Killmonger. None of these versions are heroic. In fact, in every timeline shown, Tony dies or falls. Why? Because Tony's arc is doomed. Pun intended. Just like Dr. Doom, who is destined to become the villain, no matter how noble the goal. It's almost like the MCU is telling us Tony was never meant to be a permanent hero. Even the multiverse can't save him. Now here's the juicy theory. What if in another universe, one where things almost played out the same but didn't, Tony Stark becomes Victor Von Doom? The armor, the intellect, the fall from grace, it all fits. Let's break down some Easter eggs and hidden clues across the MCU. 1. Dr. Doom tech in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Riri Williams builds her suit in a way that mirrors Doom's designs, clunky, armored, tech-heavy, Eastern European aesthetics. And who is funding her research? Stark's legacy. 2. Stark tech in the wrong hands. From Vulture to Mysterio, nearly every MCU villain post-Tony uses his tech. It's like Tony left behind a blueprint for villainy. That's Doom-level stuff. Doom builds power structures. Stark left behind. Chaos. 3. The cloak moment. In Infinity War, when Tony first fights alongside Doctor Strange, he briefly dons a magical shield. That's a nod to Doom, who masters both magic and science, unlike Stark, who denies the mystical. But that scene showed us what could be. What if Tony didn't die, but ended up in a different timeline? Here's where we go full conspiracy board. In the upcoming Fantastic Four and Secret Wars, Dr. Doom is expected to appear. Now think, what would shock audiences more than just Doom showing up? Doom removing his mask. And it's Robert Downey Jr. Boom. Goosebumps. In Secret Wars, the comic, Doom becomes God Emperor Doom, ruler of a patchwork multiverse. That storyline fits Tony's journey perfectly if you flip it. What if Tony Stark didn't die in Endgame, but became Doom in another reality? Marvel loves twists, and RDJ returning not as a hero but as the villain would be the twist of the century. Let's revisit Tony's final moments in Endgame. I am Iron Man. Powerful, iconic, but also ambiguous. He never said I'm a hero. He didn't say Avenger. He claimed his identity. Iron Man. Doom's name may not include iron, but he is a man of metal, obsession, and destiny. What if Tony wasn't stating victory, but warning us that even in death he would remain, that his vision for the world would carry on? And what if in another universe, it already has? Now, let's move to our next theory. Tony is still alive. Are we really close to see a Iron Man 4 with RDJ and Tom Holland? Voiceover artist is different in our last two theories, so please consider this, as I am not able to do voiceover for hours. So let's listen our last two theories in different voice.
Iron Man 3 hit theaters way back in Phase 2 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a time that feels almost ancient now when you consider how sprawling the franchise has become. Between that film and Avengers Endgame, we got 14 movies. and yet somehow it feels like we were shortchanged on solo Tony Stark adventures. Tony, alongside Steve Rogers, was the beating heart of the MCU right up until Endgame closed out the Infinity Saga. They were the face fans rallied behind, the pillars holding up the cinematic empire. So, doesn't it seem logical that we could have had at least one more standalone Iron Man movie in that stretch? Picture this, a solo film slotted right before Infinity War. It would have been the perfect setup, bridging the gap between Tony's personal journey and the cosmic chaos that followed. Think about the possibilities that movie could have opened up. For one, it might have given us a proper explanation for how Pepper Potts ended up with her own suit in Endgame. She showed up in that sleek rescue armor, fighting alongside Tony like a pro, and we were just supposed to accept it. Did she get it during the blip, those 5 years, when half the universe was dust? Did Tony build it for her in secret? A solo movie could have shown us Pepper training, adapting to the tech, maybe even struggling with the weight of stepping into Tony's world. It's a missed opportunity to flesh out her character beyond being the steadfast partner. And then there's the nanosuit, the bleeding edge armor that debuted in Infinity War. It was a game changer, a technological marvel that Tony whipped out like it was no big deal. But where did it come from? We got no backstory, no development montage, nothing. A solo film could have delved into that, showing Tony tinkering in his lab, pushing the boundaries of nanotechnology after the events of Civil War. Imagine the stakes if a villain got their hands on nanotech first, forcing Tony to innovate under pressure. That could have been an epic setup, Tony outsmarting a foe who's using his own genius against him. But let's be real. By the time Infinity War rolled around, Robert Downey Jr. was probably ready to hang up the arc reactor. He'd been Tony Stark since 2008, carrying the MCU on his shoulders for a decade. Marvel too had to shift gears, shining the War and Endgame were basically Iron Man and Friends movies anyway. Tony was front and center, driving the emotional core of both films. His sacrifice in Endgame was the ultimate payoff, a tear-jerking maybe it was, and we just didn't know how much we'd miss him until he was gone. Still, the idea of a real Iron Man stepping into the shoes of Dr. Doom, a wild twist that's got fans buzzing. That pretty much rules out a traditional Iron Man return for him. But back in an... Does he want to do that? No, we want to see you in that, he quipped, before adding, "Okay, thank you, Tom. Don't take it. Don't take it." Yep, he was talking about Tom Cruise. Cruise has been linked to Tony Stark since the very beginning. When Iron Man first blasted onto screens in 2008, he was reportedly on Marvel's shortlist before RDJ landed the role. Over the years, rumors have persisted that Kevin Feige, the mastermind behind the MCU, wanted Cruise to join the franchise maybe as a multiverse variant of Tony Stark. There were even whispers that he was in talks for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but scheduling conflicts and maybe a certain Top Gun sequel got in the way. Cruise has mostly dodged questions about the MCU, but when pressed on how close he came to playing Stark, he kept it classy. Not close, not close. I love Robert Downey, and I can't imagine anyone else playing this role. I think it's perfect for him. Then he added a tease. I look at him, the character, does it interest me? Do I feel this is what an audience would like to see me in? What can I learn? What can I contribute? That's really how I look at things. With RDJ now set to play Dr. Doom, the door's wide open for someone else to step into Tony Stark's shoes, or at least a version of them. According to a post from MTSSHX, Marvel Studios is still keen on bringing Tom Cruise in as an alternate universe Tony Stark for the upcoming Avengers movies, like Secret Wars. You can't blame Feige and the team for chasing that idea. Cruise is one of Hollywood's biggest stars, a guy who brings A-list charisma and stunt-driven intensity to everything he does. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't curious to see his take on Iron Man, maybe a grittier, more disciplined Tony, shaped by a different reality. It'd be a fresh spin, a way to honor RDJ's legacy while pushing the character into new territory. But here's another reason Iron Man 4, or some version of it, should happen. It's a golden opportunity to fix one of the MCU's biggest weaknesses, its villains. The MCU has had a rocky track record with antagonists, especially in certain corners of its franchise. Iron Man 4 could turn that around for Tony's side of the story. When Iron Man kicked off the MCU in 2008, it set a high bar with Obadiah Stane and the Ten Rings. Stane, played by Jeff Bridges, was a menacing corporate shark, a personal betrayal that hit Tony hard. The Ten Rings hinted at a larger threat, a shadowy organization tied to Iron Man's comic roots. But after that strong start, Tony's villains took a nosedive. Iron Man 2 gave us Whiplash, a one-note revenge seeker with electric whips, and Justin Hammer, a fan favorite who was sadly reduced to comic relief. Then came Iron Man 3, which fumbled the Ten Rings storyline with the fake-out Mandarin, Trevor Slattery, and pivoted to Aldrich Killian, a forgettable businessman with extremist powers. It wasn't until Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings in Phase 4 that the real Mandarin finally got his due, cleaning up some of that mess. Compare that to the rogues' galleries of Tony's fellow Avengers. Steve Rogers faced off against heavy hitters like Red Skull, the Winter Soldier, and the ever-present Hydra. Thor battled Loki, a fan favorite who stole every scene along with Hela and Gore, the God Butcher, who brought real menace despite Love and Thunder's mixed reception. Even the Guardians of the Galaxy, a ragtag crew without godlike powers, took on cosmic threats like Ronan, Ego, and Thanos. Tony's villains, though? They just didn't measure up. The Iron Man trilogy took wild creative liberties, often sidelining or reworking his most iconic comic foes. The Mandarin, one of Iron Man's greatest enemies, was turned into a punchline before being retroactively redeemed. Aldrich Killian, a minor comics character, got a bloated spotlight, while Whiplash was mashed up into something unrecognizable. And don't get me started on the confusion with Anton and Ivan Vanko in Iron Man 2. In the comics, Anton Vanko is a version of Whiplash, but the MCU made him Ivan's dad and hinted he might have been Crimson Dynamo, another classic Iron Man foe. Since Anton's dead in the movies, that thread was left dangling. Crimson Dynamo did pop up in the non-canon Iron Man 2 video game, though proving he could fit into Tony's world. And Iron Man 4 could finally bring some of these characters to life. Imagine Crimson Dynamo in an alternate universe maybe tied to the Fantastic Four's upcoming MCU debut. A tech-heavy Russian rival wielding a hulking suit of armor would be a perfect foil for Tony or whoever takes up his mantle. Another option is Ezekiel Zeke Stane, Obadiah's son from the comics. Obadiah was one of Tony's most memorable foes, and Zeke could carry that legacy forward. Tony's tech has been stolen and misused since day one. Starting with Stane and Zeke could be the next in line, twisting Stark innovations into something sinister. If Marvel ever puts Morgan Stark, Tony's daughter, in the Iron Man role, Zeke would be an ideal antagonist for her, a generational clash of brilliance and vengeance. Then there's Arno Stark, Tony's long-lost brother from the comics. His backstory is bonkers but ripe for the MCU. Arno is Howard and Maria Stark's biological son, hidden away due to health issues while Tony was adopted. When Tony learns the truth, they bond over their shared genius until Arno goes rogue, steals Tony's tech, and becomes his own twisted version of Iron Man. That kind of family drama could flip an Iron Man 4 on its head, keep fans guessing. That said, a direct Iron Man 4 sequel feels less likely than a spiritual successor. Armor Wars is already in the works, focusing on Tony's legacy and bringing back faces from his past like James Rhodes. Then there's Ironheart, starring Riri Williams, who's poised to carry the torch. Riri debuted in Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, building a vibranium Stark tech suit to help Wakanda fend off Talokan. After the battle, she had to ditch the suit to keep it from the US government, putting some distance between her and Wakanda. Now, in her Disney Plus series Ironheart, she's back in Chicago, expelled from MIT for missing classes and burning through resources to perfect her tech. She teams up with Parker Robbins, aka The Hood, a criminal with a magic-powered cloak. At first, it's a partnership Riri needs cash for her projects, but it sours fast, pitting her science against his sorcery. That's a dynamic Tony never faced one-on-one, and it's a fresh angle for the Iron Man legacy. So, what do you think? Should Iron Man 4 happen, or is it time to pass the mantle to a new hero like Riri or Morgan? Maybe a multiverse Tony with Tom Cruise is the way to go. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. And don't forget to subscribe, because we'll be diving into more updates on this, Armor Wars, Ironheart, and all the MCU goodness coming our way. Catch you next time!
What if I told you that Captain America, Iron Man, and Wanda Maximoff are coming back to the MCU? But not as heroes, not as saviors, but as villains manipulated into attacking the very Avengers they once fought beside? And what if the fall of Earth-616 in the upcoming MCU phases triggers the real Secret Wars, where Loki becomes the key to redeeming our fallen heroes? What if Doctor Doom is already working behind the scenes, bringing versions of Captain America, Tony Stark, and Wanda Maximoff from alternate universes to conquer the MCU's prime timeline? How could he manipulate three of the most iconic Avengers into turning against their own kind? What catastrophic event would pit these legends against the Avengers and the Fantastic Four? And what if they actually win? And most importantly, how does this lead to secret wars, where the fate of the multiverse hangs by a thread? In today's Deep Dive Theory, we explore a future MCU arc where Doctor Doom becomes the puppet master of multiversal destruction, resurrecting fallen heroes not for redemption, but domination. This is MCU Doomsday, a theory that connects multiversal manipulation, broken loyalties, and the final redemption that leads us to Battleworld. Let's unpack this epic timeline twist and ask the question, can the multiverse's greatest heroes survive becoming its biggest threat? Dr. Doom is coming to the MCU, and he's not just another villain. He's a genius, a sorcerer, a ruler, and a man obsessed with control. Whether he debuts in Fantastic Four, Avengers Doomsday, or even earlier, one thing is certain. Victor Von Doom will be the next Thanos-level threat, but what makes him truly dangerous isn't his armor, his intellect, or even his magic, it's his ability to manipulate the multiverse itself. In this theory, Doom doesn't invade Earth-616, our main MCU timeline, with a generic army. He does something far more sinister. He recruits fallen heroes from other universes, variants of the Avengers we know, and turns them into his ultimate weapon. Imagine a Tony Stark who survived Thanos in his world, a Captain America who never aged, still fighting in a dystopian reality, and a Wanda Maximoff consumed by grief, her Scarlet Witch powers at their peak. These aren't ghosts or clones, they're real living versions of our heroes, scarred by their own worlds, and Doom knows exactly how to exploit their pain. How does he do it? Doom is a master manipulator. He studies each hero's deepest desires and twists them. To Tony, he says, "Your sacrifice in Endgame? It was meaningless here. Earth-616 is flawed, chaotic. Join me, and we'll build a perfect reality." To Captain America, he whispers, "This world abandoned your values. It let freedom die. Help me restore justice." And to Wanda, he offers the ultimate temptation. "Your children, Tommy and Billy, are alive in another timeline. Fix this broken world, and I'll bring them back to you." Each promise is tailored, precise, and devastating. Doom doesn't just recruit these heroes, he gives them purpose. He unites them under a single chilling mission. Earth-616 must be destroyed to save the multiverse. Why Earth-616? Because Doom sees it as the epicenter of chaos, the timeline responsible for incursions, collisions between universes that threaten all existence. By targeting our Avengers and the newly formed Fantastic Four, Doom's team becomes an unstoppable force. These variants know the Avengers' weaknesses, their strategies, their fears. And with Doom as their leader, they're not just a team, they're a multiversal wrecking crew. But this is only the beginning. Doom's plan isn't just about winning a battle. It's about breaking the Avengers, shattering the world's trust in heroes, and setting the stage for something much bigger. Let's move to the next phase, the rise of Avengers Doomsday. This is where things get brutal. Doom's multiversal team launches their attack, and it's unlike anything the MCU has ever seen. They call it Avengers Doomsday, a catastrophic invasion led not by aliens or gods, but by twisted versions of Earth's mightiest heroes. Tony Stark, Captain America, and Wanda Maximoff, backed by Doom's genius, strike without warning, and Earth-616 is completely unprepared. The battles are relentless. Wanda's chaos magic is stronger than ever, tearing through cities with waves of crimson energy. She doesn't just fight, she reshapes reality itself, turning battlefields into nightmares. Tony's technology is decades ahead of anything Earth-616 has faced. His suits are faster, smarter, and equipped with weapons that make our Iron Man's arsenal look outdated. And Captain America? He's a tactical genius, leading surgical strikes that cripple Avengers' bases from Wakanda to New York. These variants don't just fight, they dominate. Why do they win? Because Earth-616 heroes are broken. The Avengers are fractured after years of loss. Thor is off-world, isolated and grieving. Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, is still finding his footing, struggling to unite a divided team. Doctor Strange is missing, chasing incursions in the multiverse, leaving Earth defenseless. And the Fantastic Four? They're rookies, barely formed, and nowhere near ready for a threat this massive. Doom's team exploits every weakness, every crack in the hero's armor. The result is devastating. Earth 616 falls, cities burn, civilian casualties pile up. The world watches in horror as their heroes, symbols of hope, are defeated by twisted versions of themselves. This is the Doomsday victory, the moment that shatters the Avengers' legacy. The public turns on them, blaming the heroes for the destruction. Trust is gone, hope is gone. And in the shadows, Doom smiles, his voice echoing, "This was only the beginning." But Doom's victory isn't just about destruction, it's about destabilizing the multiverse itself. By breaking Earth 616, he set in motion a chain reaction that will lead to the ultimate prize, total control over all realities. Let's dive into the next chapter, where the multiverse fights back. Doom's plan is working perfectly, but the multiverse has rules. When Earth 616 collapses, the barriers between timelines weaken. Universes start to crash into each other, creating incursions that threaten to wipe out everything. The Time Variance Authority is in chaos, scrambling to contain the damage. Even the Watcher, the cosmic observer who swore never to interfere, breaks his vow again, watching in horror as reality unravels. Something ancient begins to stir. A chaotic realm known as Battleworld is forming, and Doom is at the center of it all. This is the spark that ignites Avengers Secret Wars, the MCU's biggest event yet. But before the multiverse collapses into all-out war, a whisper spreads across the timelines. Doom has broken the balance. And who hears it? None other than Loki, the god of mischief, now a multiversal guardian after his journey in the TVA. This isn't the Loki of old scheming for a throne. This is a Loki who understands sacrifice, who's seen the cost of unchecked power. He's no longer a villain or even an anti-hero. He's a protector of the multiverse. And he knows Doom's plan threatens everything. Loki doesn't confront Doom directly. Instead, he targets the heart of Doom's army, the manipulated variants of Tony, Cap, and Wanda. In one of the most emotional moments of this theory, Loki finds the trio in the ruins of Earth 616. He doesn't fight them, he talks. Using his TVA knowledge, Loki shows them the truth. He reveals how Doom twisted their realities, feeding them lies to fuel their rage. To Captain America, Loki shows a vision of the tyrant he's become, betraying the very ideals he swore to protect. To Tony, he exposes the cost of Doom's perfect world, a reality built on suffering. And to Wanda, he shows her children, not as Doom promised, but as they truly are, terrified of the monster she's become. This is the turning point. The variants begin to crack. Captain America lowers his shield, haunted by the realization that he's become the enemy. Tony's arrogance fades as he sees the destruction he's caused. Wanda, tears streaming down her face, collapses, her chaos magic flickering as her grief turns to resolve. They've been pawns in Doom's game, but now they're ready to fight back. With the trio on his side, Loki begins to rally the remaining heroes of Earth 616 and beyond. The stage is set for the ultimate showdown. Doom's empire is rising, but the multiverse is ready to strike back. Let's head to the final chapter, the battle for Battleworld. Earth 616 is in ruins. The multiverse is tearing itself apart. From the chaos, Doom creates Battleworld, a patchwork realm stitched together from collapsing realities. This isn't just a battlefield, it's Doom's throne. Here he wields godlike power, stolen from the Beyonders, cosmic beings who once shaped the multiverse. He manipulates time, space, and matter, ruling with an iron fist. To the survivors of the multiverse, Doom isn't just a conqueror, he's a deity. But the rebellion is growing. Loki, now joined by the redeemed variants of Tony, Cap, and Wanda, rallies an alliance unlike any other. Thor returns, summoned from a pocket realm, his hammer crackling with renewed purpose. Doctor Strange reappears, wielding forbidden knowledge to stabilize the collapsing timelines. The Fantastic Four, battered but determined, step up ready to prove themselves. And they're not alone. Variants of Spider-Man, Black Panther, and even past villains who refuse to bow to Doom join the fight. This is the multiverse's last stand. The final battle on Battleworld is epic, but it's not just about power, it's about redemption. Tony Stark, the variant who once fought for Doom, builds one last suit not for himself, but for Peter Parker, passing the torch to the next generation. Captain America proves his worth across every universe, lifting Mjolnir and inspiring the Allied forces with a speech that echoes through the multiverse. Wanda, in a heartbreaking sacrifice, channels her chaos magic to bind the collapsing realities, saving countless lives at the cost of her own power. Doom, however, is a force of nature. His beyonder-stolen abilities let him reshape Battleworld at will, summoning armies, twisting landscapes, and even rewriting the rules of existence. He's not just fighting to win, he's fighting to become the multiverse itself. But Doom's greatest strength is also his weakness, his arrogance. Loki, ever the trickster, outsmarts him, planting seeds of doubt in Doom's allies. Captain America's leadership unites the multiverse, turning scattered heroes into a single force. Tony dismantles the source of Doom's power, a multiversal artifact fueling his godlike abilities. And Wanda, with her final act, casts a spell that traps Doom in eternal stasis, locking him away from reality itself. Doom falls. Battleworld dissolves. The multiverse begins to heal, its timeline slowly stabilizing. The cost is high, heroes are lost, sacrifices are made, but the Avengers emerge stronger than ever. They're no longer just Earth's protectors. They're guardians of the multiverse, a beacon of hope for every reality. So what does this theory mean for the future of the MCU? Dr. Doom may not just be another villain. He could be the true architect of the multiverse saga. Think about it. Kang was a distraction. Incursions are symptoms. Doom is the disease. And by using variants of fallen heroes like Cap, Iron Man, and Wanda, he makes the audience question everything we thought we knew. Imagine the emotional weight of seeing Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans again, not as returning heroes, but as antagonists. Imagine Wanda facing her worst self, Cap questioning the meaning of justice, Tony facing the consequences of every calculated decision. This storyline would not only justify a massive Secret Wars event, but would give the perfect opportunity for final goodbyes, emotional redemption arcs, and a true multiversal reset. Because in the end, this theory isn't just about destruction. It's about choice, about redemption, about realizing that even across infinite timelines, heroes can still choose to be good. And Dr. Doom? He's the villain powerful enough to make them forget that, until they remember. So what do you think? Could Doom actually pull this off? Would you want to see Iron Man, Cap, and Wanda return like this? Is this the kind of Secret Wars event that could redefine the MCU? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's get this multiversal conversation started. And don't forget to subscribe for more insane Marvel theories, breakdowns, and multiverse madness. Until next time, the timeline is breaking and everything is connected.